This is my opinion on Anal Eating Mummy God's test, and we actually spoke about this in depth at Papa John's. He said this was going to be a test of integrity. Would I follow my morals that I just go on and on and on about? And basically, it's that stuff. Actions, not words. Like, you do the thing, and those are way more important than words. And then he was like, so the entire thing is do you have integrity and will you do the right thing, even when it's hard to do the right thing? And I was kind of like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I was like, it's not like you guys destroyed this guy's brain, messed him up, injected his brain with extra fear toxin, destroyed his amygdala. Well, I didn't say destroy his amygdala. I was like, and then increased the fear to an insane level that you're about to be like, now all you have to do is move through it, and then this guy's nervous system doesn't work because he has PTSD and trauma. And he went, that's Anal Eating Mummy God for, oh, we did all those things to him. And then we're going to call him a coward. When somebody can't move through their own biological response, I don't call that not having integrity. I call that not being able to move through a biological response. Now, to the members of these church, they would call that a failure of having integrity. But here's one thing that will bother me. At the beginning of this, I turned myself in to the FBI for hiring Luigi Mangione. The police officers came out and refused to arrest me. Now, was I supposed to punch them in the face to get them to arrest me for hiring Luigi Mangione? Is that the way it was supposed to be? I was supposed to fist fight all of them? Or is this that shit where it's just completely fucking rigged? And I told Anal Eating Mummy God, I believe a test of integrity is to put somebody in a situation where they can choose to do the right thing or they can choose not to do the right thing. I was like, maybe nobody's watching. And I was like, and if they do the right thing, that is a true test of integrity. And then he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, no. I was like, I don't agree with, and I explained this to him in a Saw movie kind of sense. The idea that you're going to go, we're going to see if he has integrity, we're going to chain somebody to a wall and then be like, that guy says he loves his family, he'll save his family. But they're chained to a wall because you put them in that scenario. And he has to figure out how to save his family. And then he was like, well, and we had a back and forth, and I explained and saw there's this thing with these chains that draw these people into the wall and they get chopped up by saws if they don't escape. And then he was like, yeah, and I was like, imagine that, but there is no, I'm going to pull this chain off. And I was like, well, and we got into it. He's like, well, willpower is going to break steel chains? Willpower is going to, and we had this argument, and I was like, is this a test of integrity or is this a test of willpower? And then we started talking about the amygdala, which I didn't understand at the time. And we started discussing a bunch of other things. And then he said, if this guy overcomes his fear response, he will become the most unstoppable person on the planet. He will become so powerful. And I believe that was a falsehood. Because when I overcome my fear response, I fall into emotional numbness. I fall into depression. But I also believe that part of this impossible task wasn't about integrity at all. 100%. I don't think it was, maybe you could argue about courage. I would argue it was more about courage than integrity. But here is the caveat to courage. Okay? The idea that they're going to alter your brain chemistry with all types of shit and then tell you to power through it when they have changed your biology. Let's talk about your biology and heavy metal poisoning and how that affects you. Okay? And this I guarantee you there's a bunch of people that'll probably agree to my logic on this. You tell me that you're willing to run 100 miles to save your family from me killing them. Great. Now let's talk about my side of this. I get to alter your biology. I cut off your legs. You have to physically run. You cannot walk on your arms. You cannot drag yourself. You don't have any legs. And no, we're not going to get into, prosthetics. No, you're not allowed to use prosthetics. You have to use the legs you don't have. And this is the thing, once again, they rip the thing out of you, and then they go use it. How? You took it. And I would even go as far to say, like, dealing with Blondie and all this other shit, once again, he should have his eyes removed from his head, and then told to read a book, so he can understand where this is going. So Anal Eating Mummy God and I had a back and forth, and he was trying to convince me that this is a legitimate, fair test of integrity. And I'm here to tell you, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all, because I called the FBI and I tried to turn myself in, and I told Anal Eating Mummy God, you need to set it up so that this guy can just turn himself in to the FBI. That is what you need to do. And he went, no! Yes! Okay. The fact that he has to jump through a bunch of loops, and then you go, he doesn't have integrity because he didn't complete all the tasks. He didn't go through all the bullshit we put in his way. And we know from Stu, who was like, let me alter the deal, Anal Eating Mummy God, who was trying to murder me in Ackworth and then kept altering the deal until he eventually got me, that these guys have a very bad habit of continuously altering the deal until they win. One, if you guys want to have integrity in this church and you want to talk about integrity, when your church leader gives somebody a task, they are not allowed to alter it. They are not allowed to alter it. They are not allowed to alter it, and that includes your dumbass president. He is not allowed to suddenly just go, also, I'm going to add this, and this. Okay? No. The guy completed the task. You're done. You lost. That's how it is. Get over it. Shove it up your ass. But, so, when these people have the balls to go, you don't have integrity, what I say to you is, let me test your integrity. Let me put you in a Saul-style trap, and all you have to do is use your willpower to get out of it. That's it. Why not? But let's also talk about the amygdala. Courage is a muscle. It is something that has to be trained into the mind. It is. You cannot just randomly have enough courage. You cannot willpower yourself into doing a terrifying task. Especially if you have a ADHD trauma response brain that shuts down. Okay? You cannot. You are biologically programmed to not be able to do that. Alright? So, where am I going with this? They let my brain get destroyed by heavy metals for years. And potentially the courage part of my brain, because that's what aluminum attacks, destroyed it for years. And then they were like, use this super weak muscle to move this massive boulder of fear. I guarantee you, if you took the cinema guys and put a 2-ton boulder on their shoulders, they couldn't carry it. Probably because they're weak people. That's what the problem is. It's not the task. Secretly, I would complain it's the task. I'd be like, that's ridiculous. But these guys have the will to power. I would love to test it, honestly. Let's see it. I guarantee you, because the will to power works off of cookies, it would burn out. And once again, they measure the will to power in LSD. Unfortunately, I don't have LSD to get high on to move through fear. I only recently discovered choline. I only recently discovered ashwagandha. I only recently discovered CBD. I only recently discovered all these things that are designed to help reduce the fear response. So you go, this was a test of integrity. I say to you, fuck you. That's what I say. Fuck you. This is not a test of integrity. This is you making a task completely ridiculous and over the top. And I want to talk about this. I looked it up. These people altered discovery. This is another problem. This is problem 2. They altered discovery. You cannot bring up things that are unrelated to discovery in a legal case. So I call in a bomb threat. I punch an officer. I go to the court. And I'm in there, and then I tell them, well, these guys are going around town with a video of me and doing lewd acts with a baby. They're going around showing people it. And the court goes, yeah, but you're not here for that. You're here because you called in a bomb threat and punched an officer. You cannot use discovery in that way. And that is something they did. This is another kneecap in their fucking plan. This is another kneecap in their fucking plan. The Florida justice system will not allow you to do that. You cannot use discovery in that way. And when you think about my scenario, I actually made the right decision to not go punch an officer in the head and call in a bomb threat and punch an officer in the head, because the only thing that the judge down here would have said is, we cannot do that. We can't, discovery cannot be used in that form. So even if I was like, also, I committed these other crimes, that also would probably not come up in the discovery process. The only thing they'd be interested in is why I called the bomb threat in and why I punched the officer. And even if I told them the reasons why, that wouldn't be relevant to the crime committed. You got me? It would be about the crime committed, not the reasons I did it. They don't give a fuck about the reasons you committed a crime. That's not how the law system works. If somebody robs your store for food, they don't go, oh, that guy was hungry, so in the court of justice, we don't put him in prison. No, they put him in prison because he robbed your store for food. They don't care if he was starving to death. They don't care what the conditions are. That is how that works. And we want to believe the justice system does work in this imaginary way. I guess a main elite mummy god fantasized about it working, but it doesn't. This is a second kneecap in their plan that would have just ended with me going to prison. And that's it. Yeah. Did I fail? Or did somebody drop a 1-ton boulder on my shoulders and then go, use your weak muscles to carry that? I wasn't the one that destroyed whatever part of the brain is designed to overpower the fear response. I wasn't the one that destroyed the courage part of my brain designed to overpower the overwhelming fear response. That was you people. And that word is, once again, accountability. And if you had integrity, which you don't, you would pay out the money you owe people, but you kill them instead. So don't talk to me about pushing integrity when you yourselves don't have it. And I once again, I hold every dumb bastard in the church. You guys owe me $4 billion. Give it to me. And you're gonna use it to hurt us. Good. But, no. In my opinion, if I was to give somebody a test of integrity to see if they adhere to their values, I would put them in a scenario where they would have to choose. There wouldn't be any threats. There wouldn't be any bullshit. There wouldn't be any obstacles to overcome. There wouldn't be, oh, we destroyed your brain, and now you have to use the weaker parts of it to move forward. That wouldn't be a thing. 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 So no. What I feel is cheated. That's what I feel. And I think anybody in my situation would feel cheated. Once again, they hate it. Every member, if you ever want to piss off a member of this church, just go, if somebody did that to you, there would be a problem though. Right? If somebody poisoned Blondie with heavy metals till he's retarded, lead, cadmium, all the shit they poisoned me with, and then we're like, oh, once the courage part of your brain is completely destroyed after 10 years, or 8 years, all you gotta do is be brave! you would probably shoot that fucker in the head. And then, especially when they had the arrogance to try to explain to you this is a legitimate test of integrity. It is not a test of integrity. It is the opposite of a test of integrity. Okay? I don't know what you would call this, because this entire thing was about overcoming a biological response. This entire thing was about overcoming a biological response. And I got good news. I got good news in that area. One, if it is true that anal eating mummy god's gonna give me the money anyways, and I'm somehow gonna get the money, the first fucking thing I'm gonna do is have my goddamn amygdala cut out of my head so I don't ever have to worry about fear making my decisions ever again. I'll be making my decisions freely, possibly for the first time without a fucked up amygdala. But I also believe anal eating mummy god knew that he overpowered my amygdala. I believe he knew. 100%. I think he fucking knew. I think he fucking knew and didn't want to take responsibility. So the first fucking thing I'm doing is getting my goddamn amygdala cut out. I just pictured the threaten him. It didn't work. Didn't work. What's the matter? You getting scared? You getting nervous? It doesn't work. Oh no, my only skill, fear. As I put my hands on him. But you gotta get these fantasies out of your mind. The other side of this, like I said, it's a biological test. It's not a test of integrity. It is the opposite of a test of integrity. Once again, I believe anal eating mummy god knew Blondie was setting me up for failure because Blondie knows this is only shot for becoming something great. And he knew the entire time that he had to stop me. And dude, all the shit. Look at all the shit I had to overcome. And it's just a ridiculous fucking monument for failure. Okay. And I don't really, like, once again, dude, imagine my brain without the amygdala in it, completely fucking fearless. I might make it my religion. Open up my own fucking church, bunch of bastards that all get their amygdalas removed, and this church is like, we're gonna threaten your guys, only to see them fucking skydive out of a fucking, we're not even, once again, fantasies. We can get there, though. It's a realistic thing. These guys are like, oh, you get anointed, and you get raped in the ass by our church leader. In Bobby's church, they just removed the amygdala so you don't have any fear. Nobody can ever threaten you or scare you ever again. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Yep. Like I said, I believe this was a biological test. I don't think it had anything to do with fear. I really don't. And even the rewire your brain for processing and the bullshit after bullshit after bullshit, the only thing they did was make me mentally unstable. Because once again, I told anal eating mummy god, you can't give yourself psychological help. Look at me. Trying to give myself psychological help, and I only become more mentally unhinged. I told him that all the things I told him you can't do, and then he was like, we're gonna make you do those things. It's a good idea! When you think like a fucking 2-year-old, it's a good idea. And if I was any member of this church, I would just feel a deep sense of shame. That's how I would feel. I would go, yeah, that is stupid. If he called in the bomb threat and he punched the officer, he would have gone in there and then he would have just went to prison. Because that's how Discovery works. Because these guys changed Discovery. Remember, I talked about this. I looked it up. They changed Discovery when I reported the church. So even Discovery wouldn't help us in this matter. My only choice was to learn pro se with a learning disability. Thank you.